you should be thinking about in 2024. Did you know that the thinking of individuals has the greatest, determination of how successful we will be, how much we will achieve? And when we think about 2024, there's going to be some successful people in 2024. And what might they be thinking about? What's some things that should be on their mind? Well, we're going to unpack this a little bit. We're going to unpack some of the things that you should be thinking about to be successful in 2024 and probably in any year. There's some critical things that we should be thinking about. Now, let's start with the first one. Now, the first thing I want to tell you about, we think about just really how we think. One thing we want to do, we want to learn to think from the end. Now, this seems very simple, but there's a lot to this, right? So let's really think about the end of 2024, right? That's going to be December 31st, 2024. Believe it or not, it's going to come really quick. And we have to think about, how do I think from the end and begin to work backwards with the actions, right, and the behavior that I need to take to really make sure that I can get to that end the way that I want to, right? So we're thinking already about, if I want to be here by December 31st, 2024, what do I have to do now? And we want to think about along that journey, when we think about that pathway, right? This pathway that we show going over to December 31st, there's different milestones that we might have to hit to really make sure that we're on pace to getting certain things done. And so we have to know, like, where do we want to be at the end so that we can be able to identify certain milestones of progress, right? And milestones is really about progress. And so we want to start thinking from the end, right? Where do I want to be December 31st, 2024? And what will be powerful is if you actually have the opportunity to make an end list and think about, here's some of the things that I would like to say are done, accomplished, achieved, arrived at by the end of that year. And then think about, if that's true, what do I have to do now? What do I have to prepare for now? How do I begin to take steps toward that? Now, very similar. So this is thinking from the end. Now, let's look at another thought process that we need. There's another thought process we need. I want you to also be aware of think from your future self. Now, this is another key thing. Now, remember, there's who we are now, right? So this is who we are now, right? And we have the things that we're trying to get done, right? And then there's kind of what we want to be, right? Over here. Start thinking about what we want to accomplish and all the things that we want to get done. And we think about the future self, and we think about the current self. Well, the thing that people make a mistake in is that they try to make progress and they think of, how can I begin to make sure I get to this future? But they fail to understand that for me to get to that future, I have to try to figure out what this future person would do. Now, this future person that has achieved whatever goal that is, right? So we think about, as we talked about with our other thoughts about the end, thinking about the end. If I think about in the end that, let's just say, I want to earn $1 million in 2024, right? Or let's say I want to lose 50 pounds in 2024. Or let's say I want to start a business in 2024. Or let's say I want to buy real estate in 2024. Now, whatever those things are, the things that we want to do that we are not currently able to do or used to doing, we have a certain mentality once we've actually done those things. There's a different person that we are. There's a different thought process we have. There's a different energy we have. There's a different optimism we have. There's a different approach to things that we have. And the challenge is we want to arrive at a person that has achieved something that we've never been before. We've never been that person before. And one of the things that we have to do is think from our future self. So the individual that already owns real estate, what would they do? The individual that has $1 million, what would they do? The individual that actually, has lost the 50 pounds, what would their commitment be like to health and fitness and to eating a certain way? And then take those thought processes and behaviors and think from that place right now. So if we going back here, if we start to think now, right? So we begin to think from that place, and all of our ideas and thoughts are coming from that place. We're going to start realizing that there is a clear path to make sure I can actually arrive at that destination. So this is a very, very key thing, thinking from your future self. All right, let's go over another one here. Now, another thing that we want to do. So this is the third one that we want to go over. We're going over 5 different thoughts successful people will have in 2024. Now, the third one I want to go over with you is to think like a straight line. So this is very, very critical, to think like a straight line. Now, when we say think like a straight line, I want you to consider when we think about a line, right? And a line is basically the shortest distance between 2 points. So what we're really saying here is when we think like a straight line, whatever we want to get done in terms of a goal or something we want to achieve, right? Something important, we want to think about what is the best way to form a straight line. In other words, I don't want to zigzag, right? And take longer. This whole zigzag experience comes from the lack of focus. It comes from distraction, right? It comes from, really being easily, like not having I'm going to say lack of purpose, right? And so what we want to do is we want to remove those things out of the way that divert us, right? We always think the grass is greener if I try this new opportunity and I try to do this new thing, or we get distracted by some other thing that's going on, or someone who introduces some new idea, or just some habit we start taking on, or something we start wanting to do, even from an entertainment perspective. And the next thing you know, you lose your straight line. So you had a straight line. That straight line is that you've actually determined what you want to do. You've begun to align your life, right? So we're looking at, when we talk about this straight line, we're looking at alignment. How well I've aligned my life toward the thing I'm trying to accomplish. So that looks at my schedule, the network around me, anything that's going to help me stay focused and aligned on that goal to keep it a straight line. No distractions, no diversions, not something taking me away from my purpose, and really considering what commitment am I making so that I can go straight towards that goal, right? In the least amount of time. So this is the thinking we want to have in 2024, figuring out how to create that straight line for yourself when it comes to that thing that you really have committed that you want to do, right? So this is also very important. Now, let's think about another one here, number 4. So this is a big one. we have to think, right? Think about your thoughts. Right? Think about your thoughts. Now, consider for a minute, when we think about the brain here, think about the fact that, right, we get like 70,000 thoughts per day, right? And in these thoughts, we have what I would call non-productive thoughts. And we have productive thoughts. So being aware, right? Sometimes we have to evaluate. This is something that we have to think about in 2024, is thinking about what we're thinking. Now, I know this seems kind of deep, but if you don't think about what you're thinking, sometimes you don't realize what your thinking is doing to you. So we want to be careful that we understand how many of my thoughts are leading to non-productive things versus productive things. So we must be, let me put it this way, we must be thought aware, right? And one of the reasons is because we have this thing called thought patterns. And these patterns then lead to emotional patterns. And these patterns then lead to behavioral patterns, right? But the source is, how aware am I of what I'm tending to think about? So we have to make time to stop every now and then and evaluate, how am I thinking? What am I thinking about? And is it something productive or non-productive? All right, let's go to number 5. Last but not least, you want to think about your why, right? And when you think about your why, this has to do with, why does what I'm doing or want to do matter? And a lot of times people have not thought about, why do I want to build this business? Why do I want to get this degree? Why do I want to get this certification? Why do I want to learn to play the piano? Why do I want to get better with my fitness? Why do I want to, you know what I mean? We haven't asked that question. And so because we don't know the why, even though we think we do, because it's kind of just like something we want to get done. Like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. But have you thought about it a little bit deeper? What is the real reason you want to do that? And give yourself a intense emotional connection to something that gives whatever you're trying to do more meaning. I'll give you an example. Someone who wants to get a real estate license and they want to learn to sell real estate. You could say, well, I just want to be a real estate agent. It's another thing to say, I want to learn more about real estate because I know real estate will help me create more wealth, and wealth is going to help me change the position of my family. And I have my daughter that I would really want to make sure my daughter lives a better life. And I see all of that happening through this real estate license, right? Very, 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 very different. So when you think about your why do you want to do the things you're doing? You have to think about those things. When you think about that why, it gives your life more meaning. It gives you more substance. It causes you also to develop the energy and the motivation, right? Because this why is what creates motivation, right? Purpose, right? It creates excitement. And most importantly, it creates endurance, because you're going to be willing to keep going because you realize there's something, there's a reason, right? So all of this comes back to the why. And so to keep going, to actually get to some of the things we talked about earlier, knowing that why will actually help you be able to make sure it's not just words and thoughts, but actually turns into the realization of why you actually are doing what you're doing. And so make sure. Now let's cover these one more time. Let's do a quick summary here. I'm going to walk you back through. So here's what we want to do. We want to think from the end, right? Set your goals, create an end list, know where you want to be, right? And what actions, behaviors, and milestones you need to create as a result of that. Think from your future self. You can't change who you are until you think about the person you're trying to change into to get to the person that has the life that you want. I want you to also think like a straight line. Remove distraction and diversion. Think about how to align your life and your schedule towards the things you're trying to do. And then think about your thoughts. Are those thoughts productive? Are they not productive? And how many of those thoughts are leading you to patterns that are not good versus patterns that are good, so you can have the behavior that you want? And last but not least, think about your why so that you have a sense of purpose, motivation, excitement, and endurance about why you will do what you do. I'm Michael E. Parker. Make sure you make 2024 a power year for yourself, remembering that anything you accomplish in 2024 is going to come down to how you think. Choose wisely.